Writers, I've often found that variety makes life more interesting. I can't even remember the last time I was bored because outside of teaching, I fill my time with a lot of activities. And not the same activities, different kinds of activities. When I'm not teaching, I'm doing all kinds of things. I love to sing. I love to make music, listen to music. I love to read. I love to run. I love to long distance run and I love to do yoga. I love to hike. I love to play with my dog. I love to just take walks in the park with friends. I love to look at art. I love to travel. There's so many things I like to do. I really have a hard time even deciding what I want to spend my time doing because there's just so much. And the way that I look at life and filling my life with variety to keep it interesting, to keep it memorable, is also, I think, a way you could look at information writing to make your information writing memorable for your readers. If your book teaches information in a variety of ways, rather than just one after another, one fact after fact after fact, the reader is likely to be more interested and to remember what you're trying to teach them. So today, I want to teach you that information writers make their books interesting by telling their information in a variety of ways. They don't just tell, tell, tell. It helps to think, how can I best teach this information? Should I teach it as a story? Should I teach it with some description, a question and answer, a list, something else? Take a look at my chart right here. You may have seen it before at this point. Super helpful chart, isn't it? Take a look at it. Have you used all of these ways to teach in your own writing so far? Or is it time to start thinking about incorporating a bit more variety? I'm going to show you how I do this and how I think about this whenever I'm writing. And right now I'm going to show you a part that I've been drafting, which is a new chapter. So let's use this chart to see if I'm doing the best I can to make sure that my writing is interesting, engaging, memorable. Okay, so listen to this bit of writing I have so far in my draft for this next chapter and help me think, is this interesting, memorable? Is there a variety of information? If you want to figure out how healthy a cereal is, one way is to look at the nutritional label to see how much sugar it contains per serving. When I read that out loud, I wasn't really interested. It's an important point, though, that I really want to make in my book, but I don't want to just zoom past. I want the reader to remember it. I want it to stick with them after they read it. So let's see if I can find a new way to say it by looking at my chart. Okay, let's see. Is there anything here that might help me to make this sound more interesting, be more engaging? Right now, when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, maybe I could tell a story because I go to grocery stores often and look at labels of nutrition facts, and that helps me to make some decisions about healthy eating. I also could maybe make some description, like some really descriptive sentences so that you can really understand what I'm looking at and kind of like what I'm picturing in my mind when I'm making those decisions. I'm gonna try that one. Okay, listen to this. So this is a description. Okay, if you want to figure out how healthy cereal is, one way is to look at the nutritional label to see how much sugar it contains per serving. To picture it, keep in mind that 4 grams of sugar is 1 teaspoon. So for every 4 grams it contains, just imagine pouring a spoonful of pure sugar and eating it. If you look at the labels and you'll see that Cheerios, for instance, has 1 gram of sugar per cup, and Fruit Loops has 10 grams. So that's a ton of sugar. It's like eating 2.5 spoonfuls of sugar, if you do the math. Cocoa Krispies has even more than that. Imagine eating that many spoonfuls of sugar for every cup of cereal. I had more fun telling it because I feel like I was letting you inside my brain, but I was also still giving you facts. So description's kind of fun when you want someone to really picture what you're trying to say, to picture the facts. That could be a way I do it. Let's see. I'm looking at this chart, I'm thinking that there are other ways that maybe are worth trying out. So whenever you're trying to figure out the best way to say something, it's also a good idea to try out a few ways, say them out loud, write a few out, and then decide what the best one is. Here's another one. Let's do a list. So I'll say the same kind of stuff again, but I'll make it sound kind of like a really professional scientific list. Okay. If you want to figure out how healthy cereal is, blah, 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 blah. The more sugar a cereal has, the less healthy it is. Compare the sugar in these cereals. Cheerios has 1 gram, Fruit Loops has 10 grams, and Cocoa Krispies has 14.9 grams. I like that one too. It was really clear and concise. I also could then kind of move into another part of the comparison, like another comparison. I feel like I'm kind of setting myself up to say more and show more here by just saying it really clearly in a list. What else? I haven't tried question and answer, I think, at all in my information book. Let me see how that sounds. So maybe it'd be like rewriting this whole thing. So it's like, take all of this away. And it starts with a question. How can you figure out how healthy your cereal is? One way is to look at the nutrition label and see how many grams of sugar it contains. That way, in that kind of version, it's like I'm answering the questions I immediately know that my readers will probably ask. I'm like cutting right to the chase. Okay, so I could try anything from this list. And in fact, I'm having a lot of fun just seeing all the ways I could write this chapter, this part of a chapter. So I'm thinking that right now, maybe you should give this a try. Maybe you'll say it out loud, or maybe you'll just try writing in a few different ways. But before you start, look over your own writing and look at this chart that I have here. Have you used these? What have you not used yet? That might help you to get started. Okay, so now it's your turn to try this. Follow these steps. Turn to a chapter in your book. Maybe it's a chapter that you've already totally drafted or a chapter that you're still working on. Choose a piece of information that you could draft or revise. So maybe you're thinking about it and you planned it in your brain or on paper, or maybe it's already there. Choose something, a detail, piece of information. Then, once you know what you want to work on, look at the chart and think, how can I best teach this information? You're going to want to rehearse it a few times, try out a few different options, just how I did, until you then land on something that feels really meaningful, powerful, memorable. Once you've found it, after you've tried out maybe a few options, maybe you draft a few options, add it or go in there and revise it wherever you're at in your writing. Maybe you're drafting, maybe you're revising, whatever it is. Add that in and then continue to find ways to teach and write information in different ways throughout your writing piece. So maybe you are drafting, maybe you are revising. Whatever you are doing today, the work should have this chart involved because you want your information books to be inviting, engaging, and memorable. So if variety makes life more interesting, it's going to make your information writing more interesting too. Have this pulled out, be a judge of your own writing, and make sure that it really grabs the attention of your readers or the readers that you're hoping to grab the attention of. I can't wait to see what you do. It's going to be great.